Now let's look at a tool that can help you with search engine optimization. The Google Search Console helps you monitor, maintain, and troubleshoot your site's presence in Google search results. You don't need to use the Search Console in order to be included in search results, but it can help you see how users are finding your site and confirm that Google is able to crawl it. You can get to the site directly, but let's first go to google.com/webmasters. From here, click on Search Console. You need to be signed in with a Google account, which is just your Gmail account. I'm brought right into the console, but before you get to this page, you need to add your site from the drop-down at the top left. But first, notice this pop-up that says the majority of Google's crawl requests to your site will be made using a mobile crawler. Remember in the last clip, I mentioned how important it is that your site is mobile ready. This is evidence of that. Let's expand this drop-down. I can choose any of the sites I've added to see their stats. I added PyShopTesting.com, and it took about a day for these charts to appear, but there's no search results because this site is brand new and no one's been searching for it. Let's see how to add a site. From the drop-down, choose Add Property. That launches this dialog where you can either enter your domain name, so the Search Console shows stats for all subdomains, or you can enter a URL prefix, which means the Search Console shows stats only for URLs under the specific subdomain or protocol. You need to add the site using a URL prefix in order to use some of the legacy reports in the console. I'll just enter a domain name and click Continue. Now I need to prove that I own the site. There are a few ways to do this if you use the URL prefix route, including linking the Search Console to your Google Analytics account. The Search Console needs to verify that you do in fact own the domain, and this keeps anyone from entering your domain name and seeing stats for your website. There are specific instructions on how to verify for different internet service providers, and the generic way is to copy this string, and then you need to create a TXT record with your DNS provider and use this string as the value. You saw how to create records with the DNS provider in the previous module. I've already done that for my sites, so let's close this. And since I don't have any stats for PyShop testing, let's look at another site that I own, which is my own personal blog site. The overview page shows a summary of your site's health, along with a graph of total clicks and indexed pages. But let's look at the performance page. This shows stats for the last 3 months. There's a summary with the total number of clicks, the total number of impressions, which is how many times the site's pages showed up in search results, the average click-through rate, and the average position in search results. Scrolling down shows the search queries that caused my pages to show up in search results. So the highest was in searches for ADFS IIS. I have a tutorial page on configuring a website hosted on IIS for use with Active Directory Federation services, and these two keywords together caused that page to show up in search results. Not huge numbers, of course, but if you see a high number of impressions but low number of clicks, you might try improving your titles and snippets to match users' interests. The queries page doesn't tell the whole story though. There are different groupings here. If you click on Pages, you get a view of how many times particular pages showed up in search results and how many times users clicked through onto your page from search. The Countries grouping shows where users who saw your page in search results were querying from. The Devices tab shows the type of device the user was searching from. The Search Appearance tab represents a special search feature. For example, if you have accelerated mobile pages, or you use a category of structured data on your page, which we'll look at later in this module. And Dates group your data by day. You can click on any of the line items to use them as a filter. Here, I've added this page as a filter for the charts and results. Let's remove this filter. And let's go to the next page, which is URL inspection. This can give you information about Google's indexed versions of a specific page, and you can also use it to request indexing for a page. So when you first create a new site, this is how you can ask Google to crawl and index your site. Or if you add a page, you can request it to be crawled from here. I already have an entry here, so I'll select it to load the info from the Google index. Remember, this is the most recently indexed version. This isn't a live test, but you can test the most current version by clicking the Test Live URL button at the top. But it doesn't add the page to the index. It just confirms that Google can access your page for indexing. URL is on Google means the URL has the ability to appear in search results. Coverage shows how the page was found. In this case, it was linked from the home page, and it also shows the last time it was crawled. At the bottom, you can see if the page is mobile friendly. The coverage page shows the indexing state of all the URLs that Google visited or tried to visit. So you can check that a new page has been indexed. Or, if there were any issues indexing a page, you can investigate that here. Here, there are pages that were crawled but not added to the index, and that's because these are the feed pages in my WordPress site. The next page is Sitemaps, and this allows you to submit a link to your sitemap in order to tell Google about the pages in your site. This is a great way to get your site initially indexed in Google when you first create it. The Removals page lets you temporarily block URLs on your site from appearing in Google search. This only removes the content from search results for 6 months though, so that gives you time to update your site to actually remove the page, or put the page behind a login to prevent it from getting indexed. There are more pages in the Search Console, including a report on security issues that can show if your site is showing browser alerts for dangerous or hacked content. There are legacy tools and reports that haven't been moved into the Search Console yet, and in order to access these reports, you need to add your site to the console using the URL prefix option that I showed you earlier. And there's a links report at the bottom that tells you what sites link to yours, what the link text is, and the targets being linked to within your site. There aren't any external sites linking to mine yet, but remember that having quality external sites linked to your content helps move your pages up in the search result rankings. So I guess I've got some work to do based on these results. Next, let's look at adding semantic HTML to websites.